welcome. This is World Gospel Impact Church. My name is Sthabile Mazubane, and this is our talk show. Today, a continuation of a discussion that we once held around the things that you spend your time on. Particularly today, we're looking at screen addiction. Excessive amounts of time that you spend in front of the screen. We are in front of your screen. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure that you like our page. It is World Gospel Impact Church. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, thank you and welcome. Make sure that you don't leave without liking our page. All right, I'm going to move on to my guests, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves before we get into the gist of today's matter. On my right.
Hello, my name is Halalisane Mzolo. I'm glad to be here.
Greetings to you all. Again, huge pleasure and an honor to be back on the stage again.
Welcome back.
Balungile wakandlela siyabonga ukuthi usimemile.
All right, you've met my guests. We're going to get right into it. If we're talking about screen addiction, Baba Mate, just expand on this concept of being addicted to a screen.
My basic understanding and idea is that everything that's created by humans for humans is to help them sort of do better in one aspect of life or another. But once you attach, obviously, the word addiction to it, then it sort of gives it a negative connotation, meaning it's no longer serving humanity. So if it's screen addiction, then that means you being in front of the screen is no longer productive for you or good for you.
Halalisane, he talks about being too much in front of the screen. Can you have then not an addiction or having not enough time in front of the screen? What's the healthy amount, I suppose, is my question, around being in front of a screen?
I cannot be scientific and say this is X amount as enough because I'm not knowledgeable that way. But what I know, you can feel it when it's too much. When you drive, you interacting with the studio screen. When you cook, food ends up being burnt because of you watching a screen. So I feel like that's when it becomes excessive.
All right, Mamundlela, your definition of screen addiction?
I think I'm really suffering from that because, for one, I cannot live without my phone. So I can really take it to a personal level for me to say that I cannot survive without my phone. So indeed, I am addicted to my phone. So it's something that you know that it's wrong, but you can't stop doing it because you're feeding your own demons, if I should say.
All right, Mamundlela talks about not being able to stop doing it. What are some of the symptoms? Perhaps let's go in a bit further. What are some of the symptoms that we can identify? And Halalisane, I'm going to stop with you, that this now is screen addiction.
As I said, when you're driving and while texting, when food ends up being burnt while watching the latest episode of World Gospel Impact Church. Yeah.
Is it just limited to the phone or the time that we spend in front of the phone, Baba Mate?
I'll be honest, if you really want to sort of open up this topic, then you'd also have to acknowledge that it's not just about the phone. It's even about, spending time on TV and what are you watching on TV and how is that also impacting your life? I mean, going back to the question that you asked, for me, I feel like it's not about the X number of hours that you spend in front of the screen, but rather what it is that you're consuming when you are in front of the screen and how that impacts your life then. Is everything that you are sort of engaged in when you are in front of that screen sort of imparting anything really in your life? And for me, that's the question.
So what is he trying to say is that, is it fine that I am always on my phone, regardless of what I'm doing on my phone?
Actually, that was going to be my question.
Yes,
so it's not about
because
the number of hours.
Right now, I'm thinking, I'm doing the good thing because whatever that I'm doing, it's really impacting my life. So it's no longer an addiction. I'm actually impacting my life. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think what we can look at maybe to further explain that and then also substantiate what my point really is. You want to look at your basic functions, and if those are not suffering, then in my view, I don't quite believe that that's an addiction.
Okay.
So if I can set aside time every day where I'm just dedicating this time and I'm saying to myself, okay, this is the time that I'm going to dedicate to watching TV. This is the time that I'm going to dedicate to. How important, Halalisane, is it to have maybe a schedule of the time that you spend in front of a screen?
creating a schedule to interact with the screen. It sounds too programmed. It sounds so robotic.
Already
I'm
problematic.
drafting a timetable. I'm going to spend 3 hours on my cell phone, 2 hours. It becomes a drag. I feel like I think it's within your human behavior. You need to control yourself, because it's impossible to create a schedule of, because we see screens everywhere. Like the screens are everywhere now. Even when you drive, there's billboards where there's screens. Screens are everywhere. I feel like I think it's up to us to control ourselves. Don't be look at everything you see.
Mamdela, do you agree? It's already problematic if you have to now schedule time for you because you're trying to keep yourself away from being in front of the screen too often.
I think the problem starts where you realize that I have a problem, because that's when you start to schedule time. Because when you are doing it freely, without your subconscious mind telling you that, you know what, you're spending too much time on your phone, you do not realize that. But I think the problem starts when you realize that I'm spending too much time on my phone. And that's when your point comes in, that you feel like you are robotic right now. Okay, now I'm going to pick up the kids from school. I'm not going to touch my phone. I'm going to cook. That's what I do. That's how my life is. That, okay, I'm going to try to do the homework with the kids without touching my phone. So I think once it becomes an addiction, once it becomes a problem and you realize that it's a problem, you try by all means to try and, move away a bit. But it's not as that easy, because even when I'm in the middle of cooking or in the middle of doing a homework with my daughter, immediately I hear that boop.
Yeah, the notification.
I just want to check who's that. What are they saying to me?
Yeah.
So it is really a problem.
I want us to go in a bit further, perhaps in terms of looking at how this affects our productivity. Are there any examples maybe that you can draw from your life, from lived experiences where you've seen how being in front of the screen, not even just the cell phone as you had mentioned earlier on, being in front of the screen affects our productivity, maybe even the relationships that we have in our lives?
I think there's quite a few examples that we can look at. Obviously, the cell phone is the easiest example that we can look at. But like I said, also the things that we consume on TV. Because for me, the most important thing is not necessarily the amount of time, but what you are actually watching on TV. There's certain things that you watch on TV, and some of them, they will not necessarily be grammatically correct or politically correct. So for me, that's a waste of your time. You don't necessarily need to be consuming such things, because the more you consume of those things, it changes, it shapes your view of the world. And you don't want your view of the world to be, shaped in a way.
I want to stop you there. They say too much of a good thing. So even if you're spending your time in front of the screen and it's something that you would consider beneficial, too much of a good thing, Halalisani, not being good enough?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, because even if I'm watching educational programs or news, it's not okay if I'm spending like 4 hours straight, because it's not even functional. You can't go on and do something else if you're still interacting with your screens.
But then doesn't that then take us back to what you then said was robotic? Because at the end of the day, then that means you have to schedule.
Yeah.
You have to schedule.
Yes.
Because I can't watch it all the time, even if it's good for me, then that means I have to actually set aside the time to go and watch it.
But guys, there is other ways of consuming the same information instead of screens.
So what
Screens
are we
are not
talking
the
about?
only
Newspapers,
means
magazines?
of absorbing information. You can absorb information or data through many platforms, even from audio, guys. You can still listen to radio while cooking, listen to radio while gymming and running as a healthy alternative to screens.
Yeah, but I think we can also agree that it's not the same thing.
All right, I want us to look further into this point of the way that it affects. You spoke, Uguti, you're one of the people that are guilty of it. The ways that it affects your relationships, the way that it affects your productivity.
Productivity-wise, it has a huge impact, because you can spend 3 hours. Okay, I'm a kind of a person, I love series. I don't like to watch something that ends, then I don't know what's going to happen. I just want to watch season 1, season 2, season 3. So can you imagine being in one position, nothing else matters at that point. You just want to see what's going to happen and what will be the conclusion. So obviously, I'm not being productive. I'm just sitting on my couch or I'm sitting on my bed, even worse on my bed. You'll probably think that I'm not home. Meanwhile, I'm just stuck in my room and I'm watching these seasons of these episodes, you know. So it does affect being productive. Also, relationship-wise, I mean, we have seen a lot of marriages, a lot of serious relationship fail because we tended to focus more, spend more time with the people that are outside and neglecting that one very person that's right next to you. You know, you see jokes, you could share that joke with that particular person, but you just decide to share it with the world, you know. So it does leave that a huge gap in terms of relationships.
And just to add on, in what Mamdlela has said, screens has created a new culture that makes us unable to think for ourselves, because most of the information or the data we consume through screens are someone else's opinion. Most of the time, it's either through a Facebook post or through news, most of the time. So we end up creating a society of people who are, I'm afraid to use this word, but who are non-thinkers. because we are all programmed in such a way that if it's shown on screen, that means it's real happened.
But Mate, I want us to perhaps reflect on a moment where you were either around your family or around friends. Maybe when was the last time you sat at a table and not everyone was in front of their phone? And how did that make you feel? How does that affect our people or our relationships with people?
I think, to be quite honest, I mean, if we're all being honest, that rarely happens now. And if it does, then it's something that we'd have to first discuss and fight about, to say, no, but can we please stay off our phones? Or maybe the best thing will happen that nobody has data, so everybody can then be off of their phone.
I was about to say that.
You know,
Yeah,
no
if there's
Wi-Fi
no
or
Wi-Fi.
data. But to be quite honest, it's become quite a pandemic on its own, that people rarely ever get to have real conversations with the people that they
Yeah.
actually love, the people that they live with. You find that you get to now know the person you live with through their posts. I have to look
Yeah,
at your
that's true.
status and say, oh, she's not happy today, you know? And that's, it's insane. I mean, it's not necessarily human for us, because
I
we
think
are
just
built
to,
on.
just to
How do we
add-
reverse these things then? What are we going to replace this so-called spending too much time in front of what are the healthy habits maybe that we can adopt?
I don't think I'm the right person to answer that.
Can I try?
The healthy habits that we can adopt?
I'm here for the answers as well.
I feel like we need to accept the change. The change, I think, the introducing of screens brought new change. Yes. I feel like as us as human beings, we are known to adapt and evolve. I think we need to do that even to this situation. One of the few things we could try is this. We understand that too much screens is bad. I think for any addiction, identifying that you have a problem is the first step to help.
Yes,
Yes. I got you. So yeah, I think from there, I feel like we should limit or cap our amount we spend with screens.
But Mate, we talked about scheduling time earlier on. Any other ways in which we could now draw back from spending too much time in front of the screen?
I'll be honest with you. For me, time management is the best thing. I mean, I'm not sure how people function in their own homes, but in my house, we also have time scheduled for other things rather than just being on our phones. Like at a certain time, it's prayer time at our house. So that means you're not on your phone. Everybody's here in this moment, present. We are worshiping, we are praying.
Can I ask? Is it praying only limited to audio? Can you pray through your phone, where you can type a prayer, or you can't? We are not that digital.
Can you pray through? I think Harrison is
I'm
taking
just
us in a
asking.
different
I'm just-
direction at this point.
No, to be quite honest, I think my answer would be No.
My
I think
answer
from the
as well. I
teachings that
don't
we
think
get,
it will be a prayer. Maybe it
becomes
could be
a
a.
what?
But we've
It
seen
could be a.
live
It
prayers.
could be.
we've
We've
seen
seen prayers
it.
happen online
Line.
where one is praying on this side and the
Yes.
other people, millions and
But
thousands of people on
but
the
he
other end.
talked about
speaking.
typing.
Oh,
Not
you can't
typing.
type a prayer. Doctor, you're saying you can't type a prayer.
What if I can't speak?
Yeah, what if I'm mute?
I was gonna say, why don't we use a simpler term and say
Maybe.
maybe it's a letter to God or
A
something?
letter.
Other than calling
Nice.
it prayer.
Okay, nice.
Get us into a discussion about what is
discussion.
prayer.
Yes.
And
You don't
that's
wanna
not
go
the
there.
direction that
Don't
we're going
wanna go there.
into.
God.
We're almost out of
Hallelujah,
time.
come back.
We're almost out of time, Mamdela.
Yes.
Are there any things that you've identified maybe in your own personal space that you could replace with your screen addiction?
Tried working out, but I only managed to work out for like 6 months. But it did take away the weight of me having been in front of the screen all the time. It did, but it's just that I missed it as well. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the benefits of not spending too much time in front of the screen. How is it beneficial, even for us mentally, even for us socially? How is it beneficial for you, Halalisani?
You become healthy. You become healthy because most of the time when you consume or when you interact with the screen, I think it's only like one time where I think a person becomes more fit if he or she interacts with the screen. It's only when you're watching fitness videos. That means most of the time when we interact with the screen, anything that's screen, it's not beneficial to our health. There's no exercise you can do while taking a selfie. You can't do that. While TikToking, you can't do that. So that's it.
All right,
That's
before we close it off, and this is probably going to be your closing remarks, I want us to talk about how important it is even for our kids. I mean, we're moving towards an age now where even in schools, we're going to be spending time in front of our iPads. Even at home, we have smart TVs and the likes. Let's talk about some of the benefits now that we've seen, especially for our kids coming up as well.
I think, to be quite honest, we'd rather be naive if we chose not to look at all those
Yeah.
things, because there's quite a lot
Yeah.
of benefits. I mean,
Yes.
I look at my daughter, she's 10 years old, and she speaks English better than I do, and I'm 31 years old, because she watches all those programs and they assist in her learning as well. So those are just some of the basic things that people get from that are actually really good. And you can study online now, so that
Yes.
also helps, people to progress in life. So there's a lot of really positive things for that as well.
Any positive
I
things that
just
you've...
want to add on that. I've got a 4-year-old daughter, but she is so fluent in English. Remember when she went to school last year, when she started at school, we were hit by the pandemic. So she needed to stay at home. But she has not lost any sense of her fluent in English. It has helped us in a lot of ways. She's able to navigate a phone. So now I've just realized that she's able to actually know what's a backspace and so forth. She's only 4. So it does have good benefits towards it. It's not only the bad. I think we, the older one, misusing it. But for the upcoming generation, it's really playing a huge role.
Halalisani, for people that have built a career around just specifically
The screen.
spending time in front of the screen, how would you advocate for this idea?
People, they must spend more time in screens because that's the only way we can have a job. We need them to be addicted. Carry on, recruit more. But some of the things you find yourself doing, it's purposely done by designers and coders. It's purposely done that your notification can just slide in, be it you anywhere. It can even pop up even when you're watching videos. It can pop up. So such things are created to keep us hooked. But for us, it's we do have a future. We do have a future. The future looks
looking very
bright
bright for
because people, due to
Because the
the
screen is
pandemic,
bright.
yeah,
Yes.
because the screen is bright and the graphics are good. So yeah, the future is bright.
All right, we're about to close it off. This is World Gospel Impact Church. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking screen addiction. Certainly, we've agreed here with my panel that if it gets to a point where you feel like this is no longer healthy, then definitely you should look at ways in which you can now adjust your life and improve on that. But certainly, we've also talked about the benefits that we can, certainly for our future and for careers that are built around spending time on the screen. Really, at this point, you are the judge. Thank you so much. My name is Sthabile Mazubane. This is World Gospel Impact Church, and we'll see you next time.